everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's another episode of Bestie Chats. Let's go. So welcome back to my unofficial official podcast where I'm just sitting down, not doing any fancy editing or anything, and just chatting with you guys about my thoughts about things or my experiences with things or just things about my life so you can get to know me a little bit better. And today it's gonna be one of those get to know me better kinds of episodes because I'm gonna be talking about my experiences with theater and working on Broadway. So if you do or don't know, YouTube is really only my part-time job, something that I kind of do on the side. For a while, it was just a hobby because I obviously was not getting paid for probably the first year and a half. And I still don't get like a substantial amount of money from YouTube, to be fair. But I do also work on Broadway. But let's go back and start from the beginning, give you a little bit of backstory and my history with theater in general, and then we will get to what's going on with Broadway stuff. So essentially, to paint a picture, I think I did, my first ever show that I was in was in 4th grade. My friend at the time, now stepsister, told me to audition for the 4th grade musical, and I had never acted or sang or done anything else before, but she had done acting summer camp a couple of times, so she was like, it's super fun, being in musicals is super fun, so let's try out. And I was like, okay, sure. And I ended up getting the lead role because apparently I had the best voice in all of the 4th grade people that were trying out, and that was great. It was fun. I was the ugly duckling in 4th grade. That was my first breakout role. And I just got the bug. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I really like performing. At that point, I had already been a dancer for several years, so I was not a stranger to being on the stage. And, I just had a great time. And I was like, oh, I'm actually not bad at singing and la la la, whatever. So essentially, I was really wanting to go to this camp for summer, and my parents were like, no, you have other stuff that you do, let's just wait. So essentially I waited and waited and waited for 4th grade, the rest of 4th grade to pass, 5th grade, 6th grade, and then in 7th grade at my middle school, they offered a class called Fame, which is basically, I want to say it's kind of just what you see on TV as Glee. It was essentially choir mixed with musical theater. So each period, each class, we basically put on a show every year. We did some choral performances and also a musical. So we did 2 shows a year, 1 per semester. And I think the first show that I did was Willy Wonka, and I played Veruca. So that was really fun. And then we kind of did a bigger one and a smaller one. So the one that we did after that was Alice in Wonderland, and I was a card in the background. So it is what it is. And then in 8th grade, I was Hodel in Fiddler on the Roof. And then we did Hollywood Hillbillies, and I played Grandma Hillbilly, whatever the frick, I don't know her name. Whatever her name is, Nana Hillbilly, Lady, I don't know. I was the grandma. I was the lead role because I had the best Southern accent out of everyone. And that's where my love of dialects actually began, so there's so much to go into. This is a huge part about my life that I don't feel like I share a lot on here. But yeah, I was a musical theater kid, okay? Anyways, after doing all the shows with Fame, then I did a summer camp, which I don't even think they're still open. I don't know if they are. Anyways, I did this summer camp that was kind of in my area, and we did a couple of shows each summer. So I did a couple of shows with them, including Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare, and I did David and Lisa, and I did the Pirates of Penzance as well. Just a bunch of really random shows. And then I'm like basically just listing out my freaking resume right now. I'm just trying to like show you that like I've done some stuff, you know, it's all fun experiences. Then I went into high school and continued doing theater in high school as well. We did a bunch of shows, and then during my sophomore year, I was on the dance team, so I took a break from theater, went to do dance, and then I was like, nah, I actually really like theater a lot, so I'm just gonna go back to that. And I did a bunch of shows, including the Addams Family musical. It was so much fun, and I also was in The Little Mermaid. I played Ariel. I actually have a couple of pictures of me with like bright red fire truck hair. I'll put it right here because that was crazy, and I think about it a lot. It was really awesome. It was also during my rebellious phase when I got my nose, like my septum pierced. So I looked just like super pop punk vibe, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. And then I ended up deciding to go to college for theater because I didn't really have anything else that I particularly wanted to do. I knew that eventually I literally just wanted to go live on a farm and like go do that. So I was like, for now, might as well go do theater because it feels like it's something that I'm good at and I enjoy it a lot. So let's see how that goes. And I studied theater as my major in college, ended up coming out here to New York and minored in philosophy, which was really fun and I liked it a lot. And yeah, so I got some experience in college where I was able to do some playwriting and a tiny bit of directing, some stage managing, some costuming essentially. So that's where I got a lot of my well-rounded experience, although throughout high school and middle school I was definitely doing some of that behind the scenes stuff because it was kind of like all hands on deck at all times to make this show happen sort of thing. So yeah, I have experience with building sets, I have experience with costumes and stage managing and all that stuff. So that's really cool. I'm very appreciative that I've had all those experiences in the world of theater. And essentially, obviously, you know, the pandemic happened, everything closed down. I got to do a couple of things in college. I got to choreograph a couple of shows, which was really cool. I got to play Hope in Urinetown, which if you haven't seen that show, it's an amazing show. It's like such environmentalist propaganda and I love it so much. Probably the best show I've ever done. It was so much fun. And yeah, essentially after that, obviously the world shut down, things happened, and theater was like not really a thing for a minute there. So I got a job at a plant store, which I talked about very recently in a vlog. It was a plant store, flower shop, coffee shop, all together in one. It was a perfect little place. I made a couple of friends and I was just like, okay, this is like a chill first time out of college job. I didn't know if I still wanted to pursue theater or not. I was kind of like in this in-between phase because I knew that like going out and putting myself out there in terms of like auditions and stuff, I was just like, I don't know if I'm actually cut out for this, if I care enough about it to go out of my way to do these things. It just made me really, 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 really anxious. So I was like, maybe I'm not cut out for this actually. But I really like doing theater. I like being involved. I really like being behind the scenes and like all this stuff. So I realized that being behind the scenes was maybe my way forward. Maybe I could work as like a choreographer or something like where I didn't have to necessarily be performing on stage, because as much as I really truly do love that, I just knew that like I would just feel really nervous like putting myself out there and like auditioning for stuff and everything. So that brings me to the next part of my story, which is getting my job on Broadway. But before I talk about that, I really quick just want to give a brief thank you to the partner on this channel, which is Mint Mobile. Obviously, I talk a lot about Mint Mobile because they are a partner on this channel and we really appreciate them for that. But also, a lot of this channel is about being intentional, especially with our spending, this being the year of our no buy, you know what I mean? So having a service that helps you cut down on your bills and save money in other areas is really amazing, and that's exactly what Mint Mobile does. They have really good service. It's super, super easy to switch over to them. It literally took me less than 10 minutes, and it makes me able to save more money and spend money on things that I actually genuinely, truly care about. And in general, it's just a really good way to save a bit of money where a lot of other phone companies are going to be robbing you blind. So if you would like to switch over to Mint Mobile, it would be wonderful if you did so, and it would be even more wonderful if you used my link, which is trymintmobile.com/GraceNevitt. It will save you money, it will help support this channel, and everyone's dreams will come true in the end. So if you'd like to try out Mint Mobile for yourself, use my link in the description, and thank you so much to Mint Mobile for being a partner on this channel. I really appreciate you. Okay, now, back to the story. I'm working at this plant store, and one of my coworkers who I became friends with has a connection to someone at his old college. And it used to be, I think, his teacher or his accompanist, and his husband works on a show on Broadway. So essentially, you know, we're both kind of miserable at this job at this point because our managers are not that great. Like, the people are kind of rude, you know, the Upper West Side, it's not great vibes. And essentially, we were like trying to get other jobs. I was like ready to leave, go be a babysitter. Like, I was kind of babysitting, freelancing, dog walking for a while before I decided to do YouTube. And I was kind of doing all of that at once. Like, my schedule was just super crazy. I was barely making any money. It was just like super chaotic. I was like, oh, what's going on? And essentially, he got his resume sent in to the job, and they snatched him up, and he started working immediately and has been there ever since. So there we go. And then essentially he was like, okay, once I get in a little bit more here, like, I will see what I can do to like get you involved. So for me personally, I luckily had someone that was like, hey, I will give you my supervisor's email so you can send in your resume. But the good thing is, you don't need all that to get a job on Broadway, and I will explain to you how you can get a job on Broadway without doing all of that. So essentially, obviously, I had a connection, like I just said, where basically after a little while of him working there, he was like, here's the email of a supervisor, just email him your resume and see what happens. 6 to 7 to 8 months later, he texts me and goes, hey, I saw your resume, like, thanks for sending it in, blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested in starting on Saturday? And I was like, just like that? Like, just like that? I was like, okay. And pretty much the rest is history. I've been working there for over a year now, so that's crazy. And essentially what I do is I am a wardrobe swing. So to those of you who do not know what that is, essentially, obviously there are a lot of aspects of theater, there are a lot of aspects of Broadway. There's the performers, they have their own union. There's the stagehands, they have their own union. And then there's like the puppets. There's the puppets, like shoe, wardrobe, that all stuff. We have our own union, which I'm officially in now as of January of this year, which is so exciting. And then there's like the wigs and makeup, and they have their own union as well as like the orchestra, they have their own union. The ushers have their own union. And then there's obviously like cleaners and other staff as well, but I don't believe they have their own unions. I am a member of the local 764, which is the wardrobe union on Broadway in the local area of New York City and some parts of Jersey, and I think Long Island. So essentially what that means is that I can work on any show or TV show or whatever that is a union job, because I am officially a member, which means that I get a certain rate every time I do a job. There's like contracts that you have to follow and lots of like rules and whatever. And there's also benefits, which is really nice. I have health insurance and all that stuff, which is really amazing. And I'm super, super grateful. But essentially what I do personally, there's a lot of different aspects that you can do when it comes to wardrobe stuff in the local 764. But for me personally, I mainly do laundry and shoe call and day work. So besides just those things, you can also be a dresser backstage, which is also something that I do on occasion, although it kind of stresses me out, so I don't do it that much, to be honest. And this is just me speaking about the experience from the one show that I've worked on. I know lots of people that have worked at a lot of other different theaters and on a lot of different other shows. I would really love to experience working on other shows at some point. I just need to figure out my schedule and see if I can work all of that in with still being on YouTube and everything like at the same time, because it's hard to have a part-time job and also have a YouTube channel and like make sure that all the things are firing and also not be going insane at the same time, you know what I mean? So essentially, yeah, I mainly do laundry. That is my one true love on Broadway. I really enjoy just like zoning out, you know, chilling, folding, doing all that stuff. I've had a lot of retail jobs in my life, so folding is actually really therapeutic to me. For some reason I can't do it in my own house because the second that the clothes are done, they're dry, I'm like, what's folding and putting clothes away? I don't know her. It's not like I get paid to do that every week. Essentially, in terms of the laundry call, when you show up, you put the loads of laundry in the machines from the night before. This is basically all the laundry that's collected at the end of the show and brought up by the dressers. And we kind of just do the laundry. At the job that I have, there are like 3 sets of laundry, so we're kind of just like rotating through the sets and making sure that there's always a clean one ready to go. And like, essentially, if you want to see like a bit more of the nitty-gritty details, I will put the video that I've already posted about my experience with a little bit of behind the scenes action going on of like me actually doing these things, so you can get like a visual picture of what's going on. But essentially, you're doing the laundry, organizing it into their mesh bags, dropping it off to their dressing rooms, and making sure that there's stuff for the bunker, which is like other areas where the dressers dress their stuff. So essentially just kind of cleaning and repopulating the laundry back to everyone. So that's what I do as a laundry person, which is very nice and peaceful. And I also do the shoe call at my job as well, which is essentially at my job painting a lot of jazz shoes and gluing the soles of like dance sneakers back together essentially. It's also dropping shoes off at the cobbler if they need to be soled with rubber, or like if a zipper breaks or whatever, kind of just like sewing shoes or like doing little repairs like that, replacing laces and elastic and, you know, basic stuff. And yeah, in terms of day work, that's kind of just going through all the pieces of clothing and costumes that are in the show and seeing if there's any rips or tears or places that it needs to be mended or fixed or whatever, and then bringing it up to the stitchers, which are also part of our union, but I am not a stitcher because I actually do not know how to use a sewing machine, but I'm in the wardrobe union, so that just tells you that you don't have to necessarily be a whiz at all that stuff to get into the union. I know how to hand sew, I know how to crochet, I used to know how to knit, and that's essentially all I know. And I have experience doing some costuming and stuff, and they let me in. So, you know, not all hope is lost. You just need some good reference letters and you're fine. But I'll talk about that process a little bit briefly at the end if that's something that you're interested in. If you live in the New York area or you want to move here to do that, I will tell you about it. Do not worry. Yeah, that's the day work stuff. You also just do a lot of ironing and steaming and things like that. And then there's the dressing backstage, which essentially you are learning a track and then literally just doing it backstage and helping out with dressing the actors and stuff during the show. I find it a bit more stressful because there are a lot of moving parts and there are a lot of details that you really need to get down. Obviously you have notes while you're doing it, but at the show that I've experienced, you kind of watch the full-time person do it, you do it as they talk you through it, and then the third time they just like let you do it by yourself while like kind of keeping an eye on you and you're just using your notes. So that is really stressful to me, just getting shoved into the deep end. Personally, I know a lot of people thrive like that, but I personally do not. I like calm, I like predictable, So it's definitely a little stressful. They usually don't call me to cover so often unless they're really, really desperate. Because I've told them that it makes me really nervous, and they're like, that's fine, don't worry about it. So anyways, I mostly just do day work, which is totally fine, and people have made careers just doing day work for the whole time that they've ever worked on Broadway, and it's perfectly wonderful to do that. In terms of getting into the union, that whole process, I feel like the website might be different from when I personally did it, because I think that they gave it a little bit of an overhaul. But you can do this anywhere. They have a lot of different locals. I didn't even mention what the whole organization is called. It's IATSE, the International Association of Stagehands and Theater something and Stagehands. Honestly, it's embarrassing that I don't know, but I'll put it right here. It's IATSE. I'm in local 764. There's a lot of different locals in a lot of different places. If I wanted to work on, what's that show? CSI, or what is it? SVU, Law and Order, I could work on that show because I'm in the local union for 764, which is where they film. So if there's a show or a movie filming in New York, if I send in my resume, I could work on it, which is so crazy. And I would really love to work on a movie or TV set at least once before I move to New Zealand, because I feel like it would be a really cool experience. But anyways, the process of getting into local 764 or local whatever, wherever you are, is going onto the IATSE website according to your local union, and essentially just requesting, I forget exactly what it's called, but you're kind of just requesting admission or something for, you're requesting an application essentially. So I think you might have to pay $100 to do that. At least in my local, you have to pay $100. I don't know if the prices are different in other places. Inflation, New York City is expensive. I have no idea. So you have to pay $100 to kind of send in your application, which is a couple of letters of recommendation, a cover letter, I think, and a resume. And then you kind of just do a little survey of your skills and your experiences. And then after that, you can just start applying for jobs. So the cool thing about local 764 particularly, that's the only experience that I can speak from, is that they can send you an email of all of the places that are hiring at the moment. So you can just send in your resume to any one of those emails if you want to work at Radio City, or if you want to work at the Metropolitan Opera, or if you want to work on SVU. There's lots of different options. You can work on any of the shows that are hiring, and essentially you're just kind of hi, I'm, application pending in local union 764 or whatever, and I was just wondering if I could be a wardrobe swing and learn a laundry call or a day work call or something along those lines. If you want to do dressing, any of that stuff, or if I could be a stitcher, whatever your skill set is, you kind of just email around and hopefully something sticks. And then as soon as it does, you start learning the ropes at that place. I would just suggest staying there for a little while so you could learn a bit more about how the industry works and kind of the standards and things that people do essentially. I still definitely feel very not well versed in the whole situation because I've only worked at one show that has been on Broadway for quite a long time. So a lot of people say to take everything there with a grain of salt, which is totally fair because it's definitely not, I know that it's not exactly how other shows work. So anyways, I might try to apply for another show that just got on Broadway just so I can get a bit of a different vibe and see how things are when they're less established. But anyways, I've been having a really good time so far. It's very chill. It pays really well. So I'm just really, really, really grateful to my friend for supporting me throughout the whole process, because it's definitely kind of scary to put yourself out there and do something that you've never done before. My biggest advice to anyone who is going down this road is just to be confident And don't be afraid to ask questions, but at the same time, like, don't worry about having everything perfectly perfect when you first get there, because no one is perfect when they first start out, and they have to like remember that like everyone starts from somewhere. So just keep going, do the work you need to do. Like if you're learning a track, like practice and do notes and like go through it if you need, like walk through the space. If you're doing other tracks, just like keep going, you know? And it's gonna be really fun. It's a cool experience. So I feel like that is essentially all there is to it. If you have any more questions about this whole bestie chats episode, I guess, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I would love to get back to you answering any questions that you have. Yeah, I am so grateful for the jobs that I have. I'm really grateful to have this YouTube channel, and I'm really grateful to have my job on Broadway and have met a lot of people and had a lot of different really cool experiences, and I hope to get more throughout my time here in New York while I'm still here. And yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have more questions in the comments, and that's all. So I will see you in the next one, and until then, I'm just sending you all my love because we're all just trying our best out here. Bye!